Air filters, a really important part of your nitro car. Well, probably one of the most important parts of the engine, if you ask me, because they go on the carburetor and they keep the air that the engine breathes clean. Imagine if you was out in a dusty environment breathing in all the dust and it's going into your lungs. It's not going to do you very good. It's very much good, is it? No. Humans have built-in air filters in a way because we have hairs in our noses, so that when we breathe through our nose, if you've ever been in a really dusty environment, when you get home, you know you've got dust or dust bogies and things like that because your nose hairs have caught the dust to try and filter the air that you're breathing. And you've also got hairs in your throat as well, believe it or not. Smokers won't have as many because the smoke gets rid of the hairs and you're just breathing in dirt anyway, but it doesn't matter because you're breathing in smoke and tar. But we have built-in air filters, and if you're in a really dusty environment, you'd wear a mask, wouldn't you, which is essentially an air filter. So engines also need clean air because, one, if the air is dirty, the engine's not going to perform as well because the combustion isn't going to be as good because it needs clean air in order to combust properly. The nitro and the air need to be as clean as possible. But secondly, or perhaps it should be firstly, but doesn't matter what way really, the most important reason, I suppose you could say, is to keep the engine from being damaged, because dust particles, they can be quite abrasive, and not to mention sand and other stuff, but dust as well can be abrasive if it's mixed up with the fuel and the oil. It becomes like a grinding paste, and that's being sucked in there at some rate, and that will damage the crank, it will wear away bearings, and it will wear away the piston, and it will cause scores and scratches, and then you'll lose compression, and then you won't have a lot of power, and then eventually it will just kill the engine. So it's important that the air that the engine breathes is as clean as possibly can be. So air filters, a very important part of an engine, but a lot of the time overlooked by a lot of people. A lot of people don't clean them. A lot of people don't really understand why they're there. They just know that it's there and it's in the way and it's annoying, but it's there for a very good reason. So they come in all different shapes and sizes these days. These ones here, Chinese ones, they're rubbish. Do not buy these ones. These are no good. The foam is no good. The foam is too coarse. It's, you know, for a nitro engine you need a really fine foam, something really fine. This one is also not very good. It comes with a, you can buy these on eBay and stuff. They're no good at all. Look at the foam. You can see the foam, if it will ever focus, is very coarse. Dust particles will get through those holes. Not fine enough. The outer casings are okay. The end of it's up there. That goes on there with a screw that I don't have at the moment, and that holds the foam in place. The design is okay and it's made of metal, but the foam is rubbish. So if you bought one of these from eBay or some other place, don't use the foam. Make yourself a new piece of foam out of something a lot finer, like this stuff. This is very fine foam, and dust particles will find it very difficult to go through here. This one's dirty because it's old and I've not cleaned it. They also come in little things like this. They just sort of pop on there, and yeah, the foam is in there, and that's happy days. This is a HPI Savage one. It's like a little basket. This has two. You have one that goes in there, it's got a hole in it, and the other one goes on top, and it looks much like that one. And you can get waterproof ones where they have a waterproof outer casing, like this one as well. I think these look extremely ugly, but if you're going to be driving in like wet grass or somewhere where you need water to be waterproof, then you know, they're quite handy. And I can hear you shouting at the screen. I can hear you shouting, Orinoco, Orinoco, why does it need to be waterproof? Well, because if your engine sucks in water, water can't be compressed and it can't be burned. What happens inside your engine? Well, the air and the nitro are being burned, and they can compress. Air can compress and nitro can compress, and when it compresses, that's when it ignites. I can't remember off the top of my head, and I probably should do some research to remind myself before I do these videos, but I don't. There is a certain point when the compression gets to a point and it just ignites. Geeks will know this, so put in the comments what that point is. There's a flash point of nitro, etc, 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 but that might be a little bit too advanced for you beginners anyway, I don't know. So water can't be compressed, and what happens is the engine will become hydrolocked. If there's enough water being sucked in, it goes in the piston and it hydrolocks it in. If it's at high RPM, you can bend conrods, snap bearings, snap crankshafts, and do all kinds of damage. If it's just a little bit of water going in with a bit of dirt, it'll just cause damage, and that's it. I've drowned several of my engines in ponds before. That K4.6 up there has been in numerous deep puddles and ponds, and it's become hydrolocked, and I've simply got it home, dried it out, and got it going again. It is possible, as long as the engine stops before it sucks in too much water, or if it's a tick over, sucks it in. Probably won't do a lot of damage. Drain the water out, put a bit of oil in it, fire it up, away it goes. So yeah, ones with a sponge like this or like that aren't really your friend if you're going to be driving in a wet environment, because the sponge will become saturated, your engine will be starting to suck in water as well, it won't perform as well. At the very least, at the worst, it will hydrolock and stop running altogether. It's also quite important to choose the right size filter for your engine, because these bigger engines that we've got up here, let's use this, oopsie daisy, let's use this 26 as an example, a bit bigger than, I think that's an 18 in there, could be wrong, geeks will tell me I'm wrong. Anyway, this one is 1/10 scale, has a smaller carburetor, therefore one of these little air filters with a little opening there is what you need, and that engine doesn't require quite as much air as a bigger engine. Just have to think of an engine a bit like a pump, okay? So a bigger engine will pump more air and more fuel at the same time. It will just need more air and it will need more fuel, and if it can't get it, it won't run properly. If your air filter is too small for your engine, it'll have an effect of like a choke. A choke, nitro engines don't have chokes, they just get primed, but petrol engines, bigger ones, sometimes have a choke if they've got a carburetor. If it's fuel injected, then the computer does the choking effectively, because it tells the injectors just to add load more, stick a load more petrol in there, and that does the same effect as a choke. We'll go into that kind of thing later on. I think we're going a bit off topic with air filters if we talk about that, but if the air filter's too small, it'll be restricting the airflow. Imagine if you've got a mask on and you can't breathe very well through it. You're trying to get the air, but you can't because the mask isn't letting it go through. You know, you're trying to breathe, but you can't. You take the mask off and you can breathe again. That's what an air filter that's too small for the engine would be like. The engine just can't get the air that it needs, and it won't run properly. It'll run rich. As simple as that, and it'll go boom. You try and accelerate and it just won't have any power there. It'll be gutless. Stick a bigger filter on it, one that can handle the amount of flow, like this one for example, which comes off my Kyosho MP9. A bigger one on one of these engines, and it'll be best. The absolute optimum thing for an engine in some cases is no air filter at all. Now, this is a subject where some people will start to argue, because it is an arguable subject. This is where experimentation comes into play if you're playing around yourself. Sometimes, and I dare say some geeks will be able to say, yes, it depends on this and it depends on that, that's how you tell, that's how you tell. But for the average Joe like you and me, just experimenting is what you need to do. So, this is why. The optimal is no air filter at all, and a lot of race cars, not all, I know, but some don't have any air filters. They sacrifice the engine in the pursuit of one race they possibly might win with no air filter. No drag from any of this, because all of this creates drag. Alright, it's something in the way of the air getting into the engine. So it creates drag, you get turbulence. You know, if this little pipe is an elbow curve for a reason, it's so the air has a clean swoop. Some air filters are like if there's a bend or something in the way, or there's a little bit of an impurity inside the pipe, can't really show you, it's too dark. If there's something in there, a little bit of a casting defect, it can create turbulence with the air going in, and it can cause problems with the way the engine runs. I mean, you probably won't notice if you're just going down the park or down the skate park or around a BMX track with your nitro car. It's not going to make any difference, but what I'm trying to say is the Optimum is no air filter. The air's got a clean path straight into that engine, in it goes. Some engines, right, this is the controversial part, some engines, they need a bit of restriction in order to run properly. You will find on all engines that your engine will run different to what it will with a filter on, with it off. So for example, if you've got your nitro engine running quite well with no filter, you've been testing it in a clean environment, perhaps in your garden or in your shed or whatever, and it's a clean environment, you've tested it and you've tuned it with no filter on, and you're thinking, oh, it's running absolutely mint now, it's running really well, I'm really pleased with that, I'm going to stick an air filter on it and go and have a test. So you put an air filter on it and you go down the park or you go somewhere, and all of a sudden it's a bit sluggish now and it's not running as good as it did before, and you think, oh, I had it tuned perfect, now I put a filter on it, so it's slow and it's running rich, I've got to lean it again now. Well, that's because that filter is restricting the airflow a little bit, and it's making it run rich because there's not as much air as there was before, but there's still the same amount of nitro going in because the screws are in the same place. So the thing is, it'll affect different engines in different ways. I've had plenty of engines in the past, you know, where lawnmowers, chainsaws, trimmers, ride-on mowers that I've repaired in the past, they'll run exactly the same without a filter as they do with a filter. Other ones, it changes how they run. So it's just experimenting with your engine. Don't be annoyed or frustrated if it changes whether you put a filter on it or if you take it off, because it's the way it is. If you've got an engine that runs fine with a filter on, you take the filter off, or you put a different filter on which has a little bit less flow and it runs lean. Don't get annoyed with it, it's just the way it is, it's just the filter. If you change air filters, if you've got one filter and you change it for a different one because you just fancy a new filter, and it could possibly make the engine run different, you just have to tweak the needle slightly. But that's the hobby of engines in general. Anyway, I think, let's quickly cover how do you clean it. Well, you can clean your filter. You need a little tub, and nitro fuel is fine. You can use water and soap, you can use petrol, there are special air filter cleaning liquids that people sell out there that are just a waste of money really, because you can just use a little bit of nitro or even just soapy water, hot soapy water. Clean your filter, take the sponge and everything out, give it a good old squish around, clean it, and then you put afterwards air filter oil all over it. One of the downsides of using soapy water is you need to make sure that it's 100% dry before you put it back, because otherwise it will be sucking in little bits of water. If you use nitro to clean your filter foam, you don't need to dry it really. You dry it, but you don't need to make it 100% dry because it's nitro. So you can put your oil on it and put it back on. It doesn't matter if it's a bit damp because it'll be sucking it. It's nitro anyway. It doesn't matter. Same for petrol, it doesn't matter. The only thing you need to make sure it's 100% dry is if you use soapy water, because as I've just explained, you don't want it to be sucking in water. Anyway, there we go. Air filters. I think I've covered everything that I can think of off the top of my head. There's probably a few things that I've missed, but if that is the case and you can think of something that I haven't mentioned, put it in the comments and we can all have a little conversation about it, and you can all laugh at me for missing it out. Anyway, there we go. Air filters, they're important. They will make the engine run slightly different. Each filter is different. If you went from one of these to one of these more high flowing ones, as I said, this will be more restrictive than this one, so your engine will run okay as it does with this. You put this on, it will run a little bit leaner. Tweak it a little bit, your engine will go a bit quicker anyway because there's more air going in. The more air, the better, but you need to have the right amount of nitro going in to match the air. There we go, happy days. I'll catch you lot on the next one. We love an air filter. I do love an air filter. Exhausts and air filters are one of the things I love to change on engines. I don't know why, it's just great fun. By the way, you lot, I do completely spontaneous and random giveaways for gift vouchers. We got Answer RC, Will Spin Models, and some other shops as well. Random spontaneous giveaways of gift vouchers. You don't have to pay a single penny. All you got to be is subscribe to this channel, like videos and comment on some videos, and literally at any random point I send a little bot to go down the subscription list and pick someone out. And it doesn't matter even if you are in a different country, because as long as you've got a shop in your country that I can buy a gift voucher to and send to you, we're all happy and happy days. I'll catch you later on.